خب دوستان عزیز من انگلیسی شروع میکنم space رو. Hey Sergio, thank you so much for coming to this space. I just sent you the mic. Can you please accept this? I send you again. I invite you to speak. And I have another co-host that is coming soon. But okay, it's here. So I'll send the co-host to the Shura. Okay, Sergio, do you hear me? Sergio, do you hear me? I sent you the mic. Guys, do you hear me at all?
Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you. Let me
Okay.
try. Srdja, can you hear Anahita? We've sent you an invite to become a speaker.
Okay, he says that he hears us. Okay, Sergio, if you can actually request to speak, I can give you the mic if you cannot see my request. I don't see invite to become speaker or mic or whatever. Okay, so you see, okay, how? Just on your left hand down, there is, you can tap to this and request for mic. Look your left hand side down on your phone screen. And there is a mic. You can tap on it and you can request for mic. Did you see it? I'm on computer, not phone. Okay.
Oh, if you're on a computer, you can't become a speaker. It doesn't support it.
Can you do it on your phone, Sergio? I'm sorry, just hold on, bear with us for a couple of minutes. Sergio is not a fan. That's exactly why I never do Twitter spaces. So he hates Twitter spaces, I understand, but that's where we do. Okay, he's trying to come up with his phone. So please bear with us and sorry for the inconvenience, and let me just actually welcome all of you to this space. I know there is another. Okay, Sergio, can you do it now? Okay, he's gone again. So there is another space going on, and I wasn't expecting that because it has been 3 days or 4 days that I'm talking about this space, having Sergio here. And so that's unfortunate that the other space is going, but we can actually use the recording for this space and get it translated to Farsi, and we can use it. So I need to welcome Nazanin Jan. Nazanin Jan, thank you so much for coming to this space. And I have very dear friend here who he knows what I'm talking about. Thank you so much, Kamyar Jan. I don't see you here a lot, but thanks for coming to the space. And I don't go to the list. All of you, Jean, Banafshe John, Dr. Atta, everybody. Just thank you so much. Let me see. Okay, Sergio is a speaker right now. Thank you so much. Okay, Sergio, as we speak, we talked about it. Can you please go ahead and introduce yourself for the ones who may not know or may not know about what you have done before? And let me just be brief about what we are going to do in 1 hour space. Since Srdja is heading Twitter Spaces, he gave us only 1 hour. So we are going to do half an hour with the questions. Me and Iran Revolution will ask question from Sergio, and he will answer the question. And the rest, half an hour, we're going to go with Q&A. So for the first half an hour, we don't get mic to you, and excuse us for that. But the second half is going to be, you're going to have the mic to ask your questions and get answers. Sergio, please go ahead. You just need to tap on the mic on your left down, and you can unmute yourself. You're mute right now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Srdja Popovic. Happy to be with you today in order to discuss newest events in Iran. My name is Srdja Popovic. I used to be a student activist in Serbia back there in the 90s, leading a movement called Otpor, which is a Serbian word for resistance, movement that was pivotal in ousting Serbian dictator Slobodan Milosevic. After that, I went to the government and first transitional parliament in 2000. And after getting a lot of requests from a lot of people across the globe, including Iranians, to try to replicate knowledge and tips and tricks and strategies from Serbian revolution, together with several friends, I formed an organization called Center for Applied Nonviolent Action and Strategies, Canvas, which for the last 16 years is helping activists across the globe to build movements, to think about strategy, to work on vision, to deal with tactics. Since now we work with people from 43 different countries. Basically, what history teaches us and what the Serbian case teaches us is that movements can be different, regimes can be different. Of course, it's one thing to plan for a nonviolent change in a place like Iran, comparing to doing it in Turkey or Hungary. Opponents may differ. Some may be more ideological than the others, some may be more brutal than the others, but the principles that connect successful movements are always the same. If you want change, you need to understand the mechanics of it. You need to take a look at the battleground, which means exploring the constituencies you want to mobilize. You need numbers, but together with numbers, you also need diversity. You will never win by mobilizing only one age group or only one religious group or only one geographical or economic group. You need to build across the constituencies. Unity is a very important thing, and I assume you're going to tackle it a lot today. One of the reasons why Iranian regime was capable of holding on for so long is a disunity among the pro-democratic forces in Iran. How you build this unity, how you formulate your vision, how you disagree on, how you agree on what you want to agree, and how you agree also on what you disagree until the change is there, is a very important part of the success. Second element of successful movements globally is planning. You will never win by being spontaneous. And for now on, there are some elements of planning, but we don't see the sound strategy that happens in Iran. What may be the institutions that need to be tackled, in which order they will need to be tackled, which tactics aside of just street protesting may be used. Did we explore the non-cooperation, strikes, boycotts, and things of that kind, which are very effective against authoritarian regimes, in part because they are very difficult to suppress? Do we look at the soft belly of authoritarian regimes, which is bad economy and corruption? How do we exploit this? Lastly, discipline, especially nonviolent discipline, has been historically very important for successful nonviolent movements. This is not about a lot of people getting energized around an issue. This is about building an organization which can carry on in a time of oppression, but which will also be able not only to achieve change, but also implement the change. Because there will be a day where your opponent may surrender. What comes after, how the things after are looking, and how do you use skills, knowledge, and numbers that you mobilize throughout the struggle to really change a society once you are at a victory point. All of these things are very common among the different movements across the globe. All of these things impact movements, but they are also impact the battlefield. How we can work on this, what can we learn from previous struggles, and how to turn it into the tools that we can teach people really doing stuff. This is something that I've spent last 15 years of my life on, and I'm happy to chat, answer questions, and focus on Iran. Anahita, your turn.
Thank you so much, Sergio. Thank you so much for going brief on your past and what you are doing right now. And thank you for supporting our revolution. And I know that you are following up with the event and with the what's going on inside Iran very closely. And I appreciate whatever you have been doing and this for us. I just want to say that because we have scheduled this space for a long time, we may get attacked and the space may go down. But don't worry, if the space go down, we will be back in a couple of seconds. So please follow us not to lose us. Thank you so much. Iran Revolution, do you want to go with the first question, please?
Yes, I just first want to say Dobro večer, gospodin Popovic.
Dobro jutro. I'm in Colorado. It's morning here.
Oh, you're in Colorado. We're in Belgrade. Thank you so much for joining our space. And I'm just going to ask you our first question. I'm very excited to be talking to you about this issue. So we have we were in the winter months recently, as you know. It was very cold in Iran, so we didn't see as many I would call it demonstration, but we all know is a revolutionary movement. We didn't have as many, and then people are actually doing other forms of civil disobedience, like dancing in the streets, women not wearing the hijab, and other things. But my question for you is, how are we going to make people rise again? And is it our demonstrations alone, people going in the street, enough? Because I always ask myself, and it might get a little bit heated here, I apologize to every one of you, but everybody talks about people going in the streets. But my question is, okay, you have 1 million people that go in the street. What after that? What are these 1 million people, let's say in Tehran, are supposed to do after they go in the street? Go back home? What is the process that you need to take if you have people that are going out in the streets?
So I'm sorry to cut you here. Thank you so much for your question. Before you answer, Sergio, maybe the first question would it be, where are we right now in our revolution?
Well, these are both very important questions. I'll start with where we are now. I think and then continue with what keeps people energized aside of just protests. First of all, forget about protests. Protests are one of the more than 200 different tactics that you can impose, and not the one perfectly suited for oppressive situations. So taking a look into where we are now, I think there are good things and the bad things that we've noticed over the last 6 months. I will start with positive news first. Majority of the population wants change, and that's undoubtable. The question is how to identify this population and how to mobilize them into doing something else but just protests. But more importantly than to mobilize them or keep them mobilized is how to organize them. Where are the leaders of this movement? Where are local branches of this movement? Is this organization that can carry on demands? And even if the cases of the large oppression, and I won't wait for someone to say, oh, it's very difficult, regime will beat up or arrest everybody. Regime is beating up, killing up, and arresting everybody in Burma. There is a huge organization across the country, horizontal, decentralized, and very well connected. Sudanese military junta kills people regularly for protests. There is a network of over 20,000 local neighborhood committees that opposes the coup in Sudan. So organization is possible even in the case of the large oppression. It is the lack of organization, not the lack of mobilization, that I see as the main obstacle to this movement. The more your opponent is structural and ready to commit atrocities, the more organized you need to be. So getting back to where we are now, we see a large wave of mobilization. That wave of mobilization sparked down a little bit, partly because you couldn't offer people things to do and still get away with it. And what we are witnessing now is movement shifting from large tactics of concentration, like protests and marches, to the tactics of dispersion. And it is actually a very good sign, because you can contain the 20,000 people protests with few hundred of the policemen. You cannot contain the large number of flash mobs or women not wearing hijabs and all of this kind of stuff. So moving from concentration tactics to dispersion tactics actually gives people a chance to do something and still get away with it. And one of the things successful movements do, they figure out the way to keep people engaged into a meaningful activity without getting killed. And this is a big thing. And taking a look into variety of dispersion tactics, from hitting pots and pans, dancing in the streets, wearing a label, using symbols and gestures, using songs and art as a way of protest, all the way to the thing which really scares regime, which is the mass non-cooperation. The most powerful tactic regime in Tehran is afraid of is for oil to stop flowing, which is why they become particularly allergic where part of the population that was working in oil refineries started joining the protests. Getting back to 2019, the strikes of the small businesses, the provincial protests around the corruption, these are the things that regime is paying attention to. So if something they are afraid of, that probably means that hurts them. So getting back to the first question, you can have many people in the street, but this is not about having people in the street. This regime is not going to go away because there are a lot of people in the street. This regime will go away only if they figure out that the country is ungovernable, and specifically if they see that the opponent is gaining traction within the widest appetite for the change. So strategically, I would be looking into what the strategy of this protest is. Is this to put the pressure on the regime to go on a referendum and change the constitution? Is this to spark a new free and fair elections? What is the strategic victory that you foresee between this point in history, where you are a bulk of unhappy people suppressed by a brutal regime, into a point in history where the demands of the people are materialized, and what may be the allies for it? So before jumping to tactics and protests and strikes and boycotts and dancing in the streets, just the tactics, you want to take a look at what the strategy is. And there were several outlines, but I haven't found it as a clear demands. If you want to change the system, you probably want to play where you are strong and your opponent is weak, which is some kind of national plebiscite. Whatever this national plebiscite is, if it's contested in a free and fair way or partly free and fair way, regime doesn't stand any chance. So what is this thing that you want to change? What is the ally to change it? And how do you formulate this ally and how you push for this ally? And which institution you tackle in which particular order? Okay, you want to dismantle the religious police, but that's just a tactical victory because this regime will stay there. National Revolutionary Guard will stay in power. They will continue controlling businesses. The Supreme Council will vet candidates, making sure that nobody who is for democracy is ever even on the ballot, not to mention elected. So which parts of this system you want to change, how it is changeable in terms of the mass participation, and only then you go where we need protests, where we need tactics, where we need this, where we need this. So in terms of order of battle, there is a large mobilization which can be materialized not only through protests, but through various different tactics, But more importantly, what you need now is to turn this mobilization into an organization with clear demands and pressure for these clear demands.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I'm trying to take notes, but I have a dear friend here she's taking note as well. So if you still decide to stay with us only 1 hour, I will actually translate it in the next half and after you left. But please consider staying with us more, since I'm getting a lot of requests for questions. But again, based on what you said that there is an opportunity for us getting organized, and where are our leaders and where are our branches? So most of the leaders are in jails, and the organization and the branding, the time that you had your revolution, there were no Twitter, there were no like something like this. How did you guys got connected and got organized? I know that Iran is bigger than your experience, but how do you think that people inside Iran can get organized? Because as you know, in Twitter, we do all this, but a lot of people here does have actually another agenda, another purpose. So they may actually reroute the activities. What is your suggestion for people inside Iran to get more organized and connected?
It is a $1 million question. Normally people ask me, what would you do if you had Twitter back there in the 90s? I'll say we would never have a revolution. So social media are a perfect way to screw up everything you do, to end up with people steaming off the nasty tweets and thinking that they're doing something successful, and also for bad guys to spread disinformation and division. So when it comes to organization, it's always the same, regardless of the size. Size just impacts scaling of the things. So we start with the core group, and I'm sure that there are not lack of the core group of the people, where we are talking about the diaspora or where we are talking about Iran. And within the core group, you formulate the demands, you formulate the vision. Within the core group, you learn about the constituencies you mean to mobilize. And these constituencies may be very different if you're building in a place with a lot of young, educated people in universities like Tehran, or you're talking about the provinces. Whatever it is, the local people will know it best. So what you need is a kind of the overarching demand or set of clear demands, the overarching brand of a movement or the color or the symbol. And then under this overarching thing, you give people autonomy to mobilize and organize in their own communities, which means you are mobilizing, organizing, and recruiting people people you stand in front of the school when you are picking your kids from school. That doesn't depend on where people have access to Twitter or Facebook or whatever social network. That also diminishes the level to which somebody can interfere in it, because you know these people personally. So building the organization always starts with personal relationship, figuring out the people who share your values and your opinions and want to give something to this change, and then creating small branches which, like the rain, grow into the pond, and then from the pond to the stream and all the way to the large river of change. So making this individual droplets connect is where the real thing is happening, as opposed to having them all on Twitter, where they stay individual drops. So avoid social media when you talk about the organization. The best and most durable organizations across the globe are always built on personal relationship between the people who know each other in the real world. Plus, expect the government to meddle with internet because they kind of see it as a threat. They will surveil it, they will populate it with trolls, they will cut it off if necessary, but that cannot stop you from talking to your neighbor or your friend or your relative, because you are in daily communication with them and you share the same physical space. So every single organization is based on these principles. First principle is, of course, sharing the values and sharing the goals. Second principle, you start with a small group of people and you build from their personal connections. Then you start doing tactics and people start noticing. And this is the point to which you reach the people that you don't know personally. And then you capitalize on it. You recruit these people, you meet in the real world, you bring them into organizations. So organizations are still very offline things, and durable organizations always need to be based on a trust and people knowing each other in person, as opposed to just people knowing each other on social media.
Okay, go ahead, Inara.
Oh, can I ask, sorry, because you brought the talk of the opposition. Well, we have an opposition outside of Iran, right? I know it's not really directly involved with what's in Iran, but we have an opposition. And I personally think that an opposition needs to give people direction. I understand that our crown prince is worried that if he tells people inside Iran what to do, then more people might be killed, you know? But at the same time, I feel like people want someone to lead them. And I don't know if everybody agrees with me, but it's just something that I've thought about, that people need direction. Like, my thought was like, why doesn't the crown prince, he should like encourage people to go on strike. He should come on TV and talk directly to the military. Like, the opposition, aside from talking to world leaders, needs to talk directly to the people in Iran as well and give them some kind of structure or some kind of direction. Is that something that they should be doing?
It's actually
Sergius, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Iran Revolution, thank you so much for your question, but I don't think that today we have the time to talk about the opposition, because as you saw before, I separated these issues in two sections, and today we are talking only about Iran and people in Iran. And the issue that you brought up has a very, wide range of ideation, and so we may not share the same, clues and same ideas about the opposition. So I will postpone this for the next one if Sergio actually come along with us.
Yeah, but this is a very important thing, and addressing it will make a lot of sense. First of all, same as with protests and demonstration, you're focusing on the wrong thing. So it's not about the protests and or the dancing in the street. It's tactical thing. It's about where you can build a strategy and what do you want to achieve in a long term. And only then you talk about the how. And within how, you have a specific role of the opposition. You have a specific role of a movement. And it is actually very similar to Serbia. It is despite the fact that we had an opposition that we won, not because of the fact. Opposition in Serbia was miserable in mobilizing people. It was very good in disappointing people. And it is when we figure out that we need to take things in our own hand and actually forced opposition to run together against Milosevic when we won. So don't expect initiative from an exiled opposition party. Initiative should be, or whatever, crown prince. Initiative should be something led by Iranians. And because you don't have a viable or serious opposition parties, and this is normal because regime did everything to dismantle it, you will be looking at yourself. You will be looking at your own organization. Also, it's a question of leadership. So all movements need leadership, but not all movements need charismatic leaders or the person with names and surnames. A lot of movements throughout the history, my movement is only one example, Khmara in Georgia is another example, Pora in Ukraine is another example, anti-apartheid movement in South Africa is another example. Nelson Mandela was not leading the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. Nelson Mandela was in jail while the South African anti-apartheid movement was winning. He was just a figure, a flag. You can replace him with a flag or with a color or with something. So collective leadership, even very decentralized leadership, lack of people with visual names or large platforms doesn't prevent you from success. It, in fact, communicating with symbols, communicating with colors, and hiding the local leadership, it may be the very suitable form of organization for a very oppressive society like Iran. So don't escape from decentralization and don't expect people from diaspora to change the things in Iran. It's not going to happen.
A very good point. Thank you so much for that. We are halfway our space, and I think that that's the time that everybody wants to ask question can actually request for mic. And Sergio, are we still for 1 hour or we can extend?
We cannot extend. I have meetings.
Okay,
so.
okay. Can I actually get your permission to ask you for another space sometime later? We can discuss it later.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you so much. Dr. Atto, you were the first. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you guys. Sergio, thank you so much for giving us the time. I have been since the past 6 months, I've been always dreaming of having.
Whatever is happening, I'm not hearing it.
Oh, you cannot hear?
He's not hearing me, so I'll go down.
I can hear you, but I cannot hear anybody else.
Okay. Let's, Dr.
So I'll go down and come back up.
Okay, go ahead. Campaign, you can ask your question while Dr. Atto is coming back.
Thank you. Sergio, thank you for the opportunity. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Great, thank you. As you mentioned, and Simon Sinek also highlights, first, the question that we have to answer is the why, rather than to find out the what or how. So we have to have established the values, and based on that, we can move on and gather people who are interacted with that message or that values. So if we consider human rights as a main point, I believe that this revolution, which is called Women, Life, Freedom, was based on the humanity basis revolution. And then one of the things that making it cool down is just because some other way the values are being distracted towards some sort of patriotism or nationalism rather than these things. As you mentioned, and was very good point that we need a decentralized and dispersed tactics to act. And one of the areas that we can have actions, Iran has got many different ethnics. Women rights is another main point of empowering people to do something about it, labor organization, etc. One of the areas that lacking, in my view, is the supporting the political prisoners. As you remember, of course, in your video of bringing down a dictator, one of the parts that you were very strong in that was the part of the organization that was having this relationship with the people to come and support the political prisoners. In fact, right now you see that people are acting like Anahita herself, Jean over here, and other people who are in contact with the parliamentaries members across the universe to get the sponsorship for these political persons. As from another point of view, we have the team who are working in the social media to make it a main point for the people that without supporting our political prisoners, we cannot be successful. In that revolution, we had more than 20,000 people arrested, including all the leaders, all the activists. So my question is, how do you evaluate the support and this network of support for the political prisoners?
Well, this is a very important thing and very important question. And it is all part of something that we put together in a little booklet, which I'll be super happy to share with Anahita, and which any of you can translate very fast because it's 35 pages. It's called Making Oppression Backfire. So it's not only about the prisoners. It's about the fact that regimes like Iranian that rely on fear, they can lose the initiative and you can actually turn the oppression into the vulnerability. One part of it is supporting political prisoners, but there are more in it. First of all, understanding the nature of oppression and boosting the idea that oppression doesn't work. Because what happens now, and in a situation of oppressive society, for Iranian regime, it's very vulnerable if there is a price tag on oppression. Obviously, oppression backfired to start with because it was Mahsa Amini that was oppressed and then killed. That sparked the whole stray of events. Then looking at the people who got arrested, executed, taking a look at the campaigns you can exercise in support to these people, thinking about how you can support and boost their families, thinking about how you can boost international support. A very important part of things happening now in Iran is this international solidarity campaign in sports. Because you have sports people arrested, sports people prosecuted, and then you have international people from sports doing things in solidarity with these people. This is exactly making oppression backfire. This is putting a large price tag on a regime prosecuting people. Then in Iranian revolution, the one overtaken by Khomeini, martyrdom was a big deal. So the reason why Shah was unable to win with oppression in 80s was the fact, 70s, was in fact that whoever was killed 40 days afterwards, the funerals of these people were turned into the mass demonstrations. Then you can borrow from Sudan, where the streets were named and muraled and painted with photos of the marchers of the Sudanese anti-junta movement. So all of this and many more, there are a list of things that you can do to make oppression backfire. And the more you're making oppression backfire, the more oppression becomes senseless, because the role of oppression is to instill fear and obedience with the people. And if people walk out of jail defiant, and first thing they do, like this very prominent activist that was released from jail a few weeks ago, and I've seen a video of her in Twitter, like the first thing she did when she woke up, she get a statement about how this regime must be changed and stuff like that. If this is the show of the people that were under oppression, then others will be encouraged, not discouraged, to participate. So figuring out the way on how to make oppression backfire on a strategic level, meaning teaching people about the oppression, preparing them for oppressive situations, and trying to defend them, whether legally or organizationally, when they are in jail, all the way to making martyrs out of the people that were prosecuted by the regime and physically eliminated. These are all success components of the movement working under oppression. So yes, it's an important question. Supporting these people and their families is only part of the show. More important part of the show, putting the large price tag on a regime whenever violation of human rights and prosecution happens. Larger the price tag, the more they will think twice before they do it again.
Thank you so much, Srdja. We have only 20 minutes and we have a lot of hands up. Please limit your question to 30 seconds if you can. Please don't go over that. We don't have that much time. Dr. Atta, you're next.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. And thank you, Srdja, for giving us time. I have read your book, and in terms of having the opportunity of having a horizontal revolution with no leader, it kind
Yes.
of opposes the classic revolution books like the ones that Jack Goldstone has is talking about having one leader, only one for each revolution. How do we score these having no leader or having one leader? Can you kind of elaborate on that? Thank you.
Once again, movements need to be led. There must be a group of people that formulate the strategy and tactics. Whether we are talking about a group of people that are very charismatic, recognizable, and people who are in the same time the strategists and public faces and CEOs of the movement, like we had Gandhi in India. It's one model. Another model is building layers of leadership and training people to lead and having people in charge for different functions of the movement and having a public spokespersons who are not actually leading the movement, because it is the public spokespersons that regime will go after first because they are visible. However, what we did in Serbia was detaching functions from the people who are visible. So the people who will talk to media or give speeches were the people who were talking to media and giving speeches, while the other people were dealing with recruitment and fundraising and organizing protests and branding and propaganda and communicating. And these people were not visible and thus not very easy to suppress. So when you're looking at the movements and you're looking at the leadership, you can rather look at the function of the leadership and different functions of the movement, and you can distribute these functions among the different individuals or groups, keeping up in head that those who go public, they will be prosecuted. So what we were actually doing, we were training hundreds of people to speak in public. We're training hundreds of people to speak to the press, and these were the people who would be arrested, detained, or similar, as opposed in the same time we were training hundreds of people to organize protests and strikes, and they would never go public. And thus they were less likely to be prosecuted. So it's not a dilemma whether or not we need a charismatic leader. It's a dilemma how we structure the leadership the way it fits best the existing situation. Existing situation calls for decentralized, well-trained, multi-layer, multifaceted leadership in Iran. Even if you have a person who is particularly charismatic and can stand in front of the movement, you can bet that bad things will happen to this person very soon. And with that person, the hopes of the movement will be jailed as well. So don't tie this to the name, don't tie this to the face, tie the idea to the organization and brand and symbol, and make sure you have enough people to speak publicly, and make sure you have enough layers of organization that will continue to work regardless of how many publicly speaking people are arrested.
Thank you so much, Srdja. If you can actually answer shorter than this, I appreciate. A lot of people are asking for mics. I don't know if we have time. For now, we stop taking the mics and we go with the people who already have the mic. I'm so worried. You were the first. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So my question is, because I studied a couple of revolutions, and one of the unique characteristics of this movement in Iran is that people who are uprising, they have no member of parliament, for example, as their voice, to channel their voice in the parliament. So because the whole thing is so corrupt that all the MPs are rooting for Islamic regime. So they don't have any representation, so they won't get any support, and they cannot channel their voice within. I was wondering if you can give us a picture about your revolution back in Serbia. Were you faced with the same situation, or you could rely on your member of parliaments to support your movement? Thank you.
Yes, we did have members of parliament supporting our idea, but like in Iran, it was not the parliament where the real power was. So in Serbia, the real power was with a guy who was president of Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, Milosevic. And the parliament and government were just the extension of his wishes. Very similarly, you have Khamenei. So the real power lies in a Supreme Council rather than in the parliament or in the government. Parliament is an important pillar, though, and talking to parliamentarians, trying to shift parliamentarians, and specifically trying to nurture the rising voices of the people who call for the reform coming from a previous reform wing, embracing them by the movement instead of saying, oh, you are just all the same, which is the common mistake that movements make, maybe the wise way to go ahead. You want more people from institutions to shift side. You need to be open to them to shifting side, not discriminating them because they have been the part of the regime for so many years. What you want to see is more cracks and more defections, and movement should have extended invitation from people in the parliament, people in the government, or people who were the parts of the system from before to shift side. You will need these people and their voice because they're also appealing to the constituencies, which may be very important. This also comes with age. One of the things that Iranian revolution is unique on is the fact that its mobilization, and very similarly like in Serbia, it's through the young people. So one way to think of it is how to organize and mobilize and build discipline, which can be sometimes hard for young people. Another point of view is how you appeal to the population which is not young. For that, you will need some people of age shifting to your side.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you mute yourself? I'm so worried. Thank you. Next one is Yara Dabestani. Go for it, please.
Thank you, Anahita Jan. Thank you, Srdja, to be here. I'll be quick. So yes, we're talking about Iran revolution, but everything going on at this point, do we have all the elements of revolution still there? And if not, what is missing? Thank you.
I don't even know why people are calling this revolution. It is very far from revolution. Revolution is a small elite group of people toppling different small elite group of people. This is a popular uprising. And, it's like you have some elements of popular uprising, like you have a large number of the people mobilized against status quo. You don't see another elements of popular uprising, like clear demands and organization. So I would rather talk about the mass popular uprising than the revolution.
Okay, thank you so much. And next one is Naga.
The reason why we call it a revolution is because that is the end point of what this is going to be. We are at a certain stage of it, certainly, and we're trying to build the momentum to a full-blown change of getting rid of the regime completely. So that is why calling it a revolution is so important, because that is the only outcome that is acceptable. But I have a question. In the past, like the things that you've studied, the revolutions, what were the successful events, like the catalyst, the things that happened that finally was like, there's no turning back? Like finally, everything from now on that is the outcome is the change of the regime, the destruction of the powers at play. What was the turning point?
Well, rather than talking about this turning point, and once again, this is why I don't like the term revolution, is taking a look at the many small victories. Successful movements are not successful because there was a turning point or there was an event like election fraud in Serbia. We knew election fraud would be the trigger for large mobilization, the same way the Maksamini was a trigger for Iranian protests. But the triggers impact mobilization. Triggers not necessarily impact the outcome. For the successful outcome, you need organization and planning. So rather than talking about a certain point, I was talking about the slowly building your capacity for change. Do you have the organization? So the reason why we were successful in 2000, it was not because Milosevic lost elections and stole them. He lost elections and stole them in 1996, 1997. We were not capable of dismantling him then. The reason was that we have all the pieces of puzzle in place. We had united opposition, we had parallel vote tabulation. Most importantly, we had organization in 60 towns and cities, accounting for 25,000 daily active people. This organization was able to exercise mass non-cooperation, general strike, and million people on the street. So it is because of the organization that we could have capitalized on the event, not the vice versa.
Thank you so much. Ronak, go for it, please.
Hello, Srdja. As my relatives would say, dobry dien. So I have a question. It's about when the country is changing geopolitical alignment. My understanding of Serbia's situation was that Milosevic was not aligned with the West. And then even today, I think with Vucic, that's still the case. And that Djindjic got a lot of criticism because of that perception. And I know like there were some Warsaw Pact countries like Poland who had their revolutions and they were changing geopolitical alignment and it was a little harder. In Iran's case, a lot of people would want to change the geopolitical alignment. There's oil, and a lot of people have told me inside the country, we're not willing to risk our life until we know the Revolutionary Guard's resources will run out. If they're not going to run out, what's the point of me getting killed uselessly, like with the case of some Russians? What do you have to say on those 2 points?
I'm not sure that you necessarily need to change the geopolitical alliance in order to change the government. Changing geopolitical alliances may or may not be the main mobilizing point. I must assure you that within Serbian movement, you had people that were clearly pro-West, but you had people that were very nationalistic and very, lost their parents and arms and legs in NATO bombing. So you don't necessarily need to pick between East and West. It is picking between you controlling your future and having a democracy in a country where this country is more aligned with one side or the other. However, getting into the other question, which is I think kind of more important, what is older, the chicken or the egg? So I will not risk my life until the Revolutionary Guards resources are sucked dry, but the only way to suck them dry is for me to do something. So it's like looking into this is probably the core of the revolution question. Can you make them bankrupt? Can you make money from oil stop funding oppression? Can you make money from bribery stop funding oppression? Can you make regimes squeezed of paying salaries and retirements? And this is their soft belly. I mean, take a look at the type of, like the rationale about it. It can be Iran, it can be Venezuela. These are the 2 worst examples in the world. With a human capital that Iran has, with a natural resources that Iran has, and with an oil that Iran has, you guys should be living in Norway. And the only reason why you are not living in Norway is a bad government. The government that is filling their pockets out of the oil riches and uses this money for their senseless ideological wars in places like Syria. So taking a look at what the real change would like, it will be A, figuring out how the common people will benefit on it, and B, focusing solely on businesses controlled by Revolutionary Guards. So no, you don't need to get killed by a regime in a place like Burma, but still the Burmese activists were very successful in identifying businesses affiliated with junta, boycotting these businesses and organizing the large international campaign to divest from these businesses. The largest brewery in Burma was owned by one of the members of the junta. I bet the largest brewery in Iran, not necessarily the brewery, but any other type of factory, is owned by the people affiliated with Islamic Revolutionary Guard. Identify the businesses and start not drinking that lemonade. Start not smoking that cigarette. So start by hitting them where it hurts with a thing that cannot be suppressed. Because if I decide to boycott McDonald's, there is no pressure in the world that will make me buying in McDonald's. You can kill me, but I'm not still buying in McDonald's. So figure out how to suck the Revolutionary Guard dry. No-brainer, figure out how to mobilize the people from refineries, because this is what regime is mostly terrified of. But more importantly, make a map of businesses that is affiliated with the regime and see what people can do to boycott or diminish the profit from these businesses. A lot of this is about some people within regime getting rich. Getting them poor is what's sucking their resources dry.
Thank you so much, Sergio. We have only 4 minutes and 2 people. Please be very quick. Balance, you go.
Hi, thank you so much. So I just wanted to share, times have changed, and while some of the strategies you shared were excellent, especially the specific strategies, they were absolutely relevant, but technology is now being used indeed to grow revolutions, but also to try to stop revolutions or, public uprisings. I'm sure you've given some thought to the use of technologies and changing the revolutionary landscape. So my question is, how, in your view, has the calculus changed when you consider how technology is now being used by authoritarian governments against those who wish for regime change? And then pairing that is what strategies would you offer to guard against? There are those in the space that share strategies, but wondering if there were any strategies that you may have thought of or that while considering the technology used.
Focus on a goal. Technology is a vehicle. So if you want to suck the Revolutionary Guard dry and you want to map businesses connected to the certain members of the Revolutionary Guard, probably using technology to figure out who owns what in what company will help. Using technology to mobilize people for boycott is a good vehicle, but you can do it by talking to the people and doing very offline things. And, leaflets still work, radio still work, megaphone still work, word of mouth still work. So if you really want to, what you need is a strategy and using a technology as a vehicle. So it is about having a good or bad strategy that really impacts movements and not how you use the technology. Technology is a welcome crunch on what you're trying to achieve, but it's not necessarily something that you need. Boycotts and collapsing the big businesses was successful far before internet in a very low tech countries. I just mentioned the South Africa as one of the examples, and it's still very effective in a place where regime can completely cut off internet, like in Burma. But people are not buying this brand of cigarettes, and they get to it by figuring out what they need to do, mobilizing numbers not to buy, and organizing diaspora to find an investors into these businesses and help divest in places where it hurts, like France or Singapore or Japan.
Thank you so much, Urumia.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Popovic, thank you for your time. I would like to ask you for your thoughts on the recent chemical attacks on the schools by the regime of Iran. Given your expertise in nonviolent resistance and social change, what solution would you propose for addressing this issue? In particular, how can activists and organizers use nonviolent tactics to protect vulnerable communities like school children? As you like, starting small, please go step by step for every action that we can take. And thank you again, and wish to see you in spaces again.
Thank you for the question. This is a very important question. This poisoning is not only a point of international outrage and domestic outrage. It also shows the more wider thing, which is the regime is incapable to stop it. So accountability and keeping regime accountable, instead of just saying, oh, they're poisoning the girls. What if you say, what the heck in the world is the regime that sends girls back to school day after the poisoning, and what we can do to defend them? So any range of tactics, ranging from a protest and petitions and setting appointments, And this will really confuse them because you can disperse there. You will talk to the school principals. You will talk to the local councils. You're not only addressing the one big head in Tehran, because these poisonings happen across 20 or 30 different cities as far as I'm following, probably more. So making it dispersed, giving people local manuals. So these are the 5 things that you do when the school poisoning happening. Call your school counselor, set an appointment in a school, organize a protest in a school, write a petition, go to municipality, go to Ministry of Education. So you list possible tactics, you spread them nationwide. So whenever there is a poisoning, there is a bunch of people asking the same questions. Then this becomes a very complicated issue for the regime, because if they are doing it, or the group affiliated to the regime is doing it, they will need to reconsider whether this pays off. And if they're not doing it, they will need to solve it. In both cases, you will put them on the defense and expose the lack of accountability, but also the lack of controllability. Because if they cannot control this, then they are weak. And they must not admit that they are weak. So building around these cases, building the local capacity to put a pressure on local stakeholders regarding every single poisoning. And of course, in the same time, you as members of diaspora, finding out the global spokesman for this, poisoning girls in schools. Which world celebrities, particularly female celebrities, have 4 million followers on Instagram that will tweet or share or Instagram about this? So there are roles for diaspora and people within the countries, but once again, the key word is accountability. It's not only about this is disgusting, it's about what is the type of country which cannot protect kids in school? And this question then appeals to the far wider audience domestically and internationally. Tactically, what you want to develop is a kind of a workshop, manual, to-do list, if you want, for the local population whenever this type of attack is happening. Unfortunately, it seems that these attacks are not stopping. And once again, you play as a good citizens. And then you say, in the country that I would like to deal with, there will be no school poisonings. And in the country that I would like to be with, if there is a school poisoning, somebody will be damn responsible. Somebody will need to resign. Somebody will go to court. Some criminals will be arrested. What is the type of very powerful regime that is so successful in suppressing its own citizens that cannot find those responsible for what? 50, 60, 100, 200 chemical attacks? You guys are a joke. Making them look as a joke hurts them more than saying, oh, they're horrible, they're strong, they're evil.
Sergio, we are out of time. Do you have time for one more question or not?
Yeah, one more question and I will need to run in like 7 minutes.
Okay. Go for it, Tierra, if you're connecting. Tierra, go ahead.
Thanks, Anahita. Thanks for the great space, Sergio. Thanks for joining the space. Really helpful. I have a question. So I've been working on a project.
Tierra.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, Sergio, I have a question for you. I've been working on a project of bringing the opposition groups in different countries that are considered kind of the Islamic Republic's playground together, countries like Venezuela, Lebanon, Syria, eventually maybe even Russia, and kind of connect our actions, coordinate our actions, connect our oppositions together. I just want to get your thoughts on that, see if it's something that's worthwhile focusing on, and if you have any advice around ways that we can approach that.
Expanding battlefield is always a good idea, specifically in these countries, if you can focus efforts on whatever civic groups and opposition in these countries are working, and you want to focus them around global, more acceptable things. Once again, accountability for those who poison girls as just saying, oh, Iran is awful and we need to align with the United States. So less geopolitical, ideological, or religious these initiative looks, and more aligned with a common sense, accountability, end of corruption, and basic human rights. They are more likely to become a platform on which opposition forces in regime-aligned countries are operating. So narrow it down to something that people can agree with. and try to mobilize them all in the same time or over the same period of time, and that will make Iranian regime diplomacy very busy.
Thank you so much, Sergio. I don't know how to really thank you for your time and for your to the point answers. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from our space, and I hope that we can have you again here. I will work for you, and to do more if your time actually allows. And I appreciate whoever attended this. You can actually stay with us if you want to hear in Farsi. But thank you so much, Sergio. And
Thank you so much. Keep up the good work, and looking forward if I can cap further. I feel very strongly about this thing. I think you guys are doing an amazing job, and whether in diaspora or within the country, this is a very worthy fight, which will impact the world, not only because of the geopolitics, but because of getting human rights in a situation where they are highly suppressed, getting equality. I think you're also having what we didn't mention. I think what diaspora should be focusing on is making this international women's rights issue, because what happens in Iran is so inspiring for a global battle of equality between men and women that I don't see enough of it being embraced by the feminists across the globe. But that's yet maybe a topic for another space. Thank you for this. I need to run on my next call.
Thank you.
You can share. I would just invite you to share with the people if they want to read. There is a free version of my book on Reddit in Farsi. So.
Yes, I shared the link that you provided for the Farsi, and people are starting reading it. Thank you so much. Iran Revolution, do you have anything to say?
No, thank you so much, Srdja. Hope to see you again soon. And your insight was very valuable. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, I don't know what to do with the space. Do you want to stay for hearing in Persian, or I just close the space? I don't know really. If any of the speakers has anything to say, I can actually. We have another one who didn't have the time to ask the question. But if any other speaker want to talk, just open your mic and talk, and we can decide about the rest of the space. Go ahead, Dr.
I have a question. Oh, sorry. ببخشید.
It's okay. Dr. Atta, go ahead.
خیلی ممنون. آناهیتا جان، خواستم اول ازت تشکر کنم، چون واقعا فرصت بی‌نظیری اینجا ایجاد کردی. من مدت‌ها بود که تو فکر بودم، واقعا آرزو داشتم یه همچین موقعیتی پیش بیاد و پیگیری که انجام بدی واقعا ارزشمند بود. خواستم به شخص تشکر کنم ازت. بعد خواستم پیشنهاد بدم که اینجا میشه صحبت کرد، کمی باز کرد مطالب، هر کسی هایلایتی که داشته و لذت برده ازش برادرش مهم بوده میتونیم اینجا با همدیگه صحبت کنیم و تا جایی که وقت دارید استفاده کنیم از نظرات همدیگه. ممنونم.
مرسی دکتر جون، خیلی ایده خوبی هست. I don't know if we have still English speaking people here. Yes, we do. So I'll go still with English, but anybody wants to speak Farsi, that's totally fine. So I'm trying to get more involved with Sergio, and he has some propositions and getting more organized or teach us more. So whatever I get from him, I will share with everybody, and I'll try to get him again in space for the other part of our discussion about the opposition as well. But the most important thing is gonna be how he can teach us to be organized inside Iran. I'm not the expert on that, so I may get help from others who are working like HN or whomever is working on organizing people inside Iran. I'm not the one that who does that, but I have another 50 minutes. Iran Revolution, do you have time?
I can stay for another 20 minutes,
Okay.
if that's okay with you.
Yes,
But
very.
Anahita, really, thank you so much for setting this up. It's very important that we talk to experts from everywhere in the world, because it's like a collection of experiences that we need to gather. And I liked a lot of the things that he said. And yeah, thank you so much for arranging this.
Sure. Thank you so much for helping me in this. And okay. No, I'm sorry. I cut you off with your question. We were actually we haven't discussed our point of view about the opposition yet. So I didn't want to go there because we may have some differences. So that's why I cut you. But I'm sorry for that.
No, it's okay.
Thank
It's okay. No, listen. For me, the end goal for me is the people of Iran. Anybody who's willing to help the people inside Iran, I am behind them. But anybody who's trying to stir trouble and I don't claim to be anything. I'm just for the people inside Iran. That is my whole ideology.
Thank you so much. Okay, Ronak, go for it.
I'll do this in English and Persian to cover both speakers. I'll make this quick. Okay, I'll start in Persian first. ببین من در تماسم با یه سری جاهایی در ایران که خیلی مثلا بیشتر ضد حکومت هستن. چیزی که من به سرجا میگفتم تا یه حدی درست بود که آخه ایران فکر کنم هنوز اکثر اقتصادش به نفت وابسته است. اگه مردم توی بازارم خرید نکنن هنوز جمهوری اسلامی میتونه با پول نفت هنوز یه سری حقوقای سپاه رو بده و سپاه از کلمه یه کسی که یه دو از قوم خویشام میشناسه گفت چون من 2 بار در روز برنج میخورم من چرا استعفا بدم. وقتی این اتفاق میفته نیازی یه چیزی تو انقلاب اینه که باید مثلا نیروهای سپاه مثلا استعفا بدن اینا. I'll say this in English. So my question here is that Iran's economy is still very oil-based, even if you apply Srdja's tactics. Basically, from the people I'm in contact with in areas that are very more anti-regime, what they keep saying is even if we don't buy in the shops, we need the oil-based resources to be exhausted, and that some of the Basiji or Revolutionary Guards we know are saying because I eat rice 2 times a day, why should I defect? And part of a revolution involves defections, and from the Islamic Republic's calculation, they can keep going if they have a resource that everybody needs, and China and India will still buy it unless there's a way to stop that oil revenue, and people cannot just not buy the oil because the oil is usually being shipped abroad too. So that was my question basically.
Thank you so much for that, Ronak. You're right, and that's why we are working so hard to get IRGC on the terrorist list, and we have to work in the US for make them accountable. So we made them in the terrorist list, Trump did, but we are not making them accountable. And I apologize for all the hands that are up, but I want to give the mic to Nazanin. Nazanin, you really you honored us. Thank you so much.
No, not at all. I don't want to skip the line here. Anahita, thank you so much for inviting Srdja and organizing all these people. He is a powerful voice. So kudos for you for bringing him on. I was just wondering where you will be sharing the link to this recording so that we can share it with others. And may I suggest perhaps also linking to some of his past work, because I did workshops with him probably 15 years ago. He was just as good then, probably even better now that he's had more and more experience. And I think a lot of people could benefit from reading his past publications. And I know some of them are actually printed in Persian. So just as a suggestion, if you want to post those as well whenever you share the recording.
Sure, if you want, the recording will be under the space. So the space is available, the link of the space. Whenever you go there, the recording will be there. But I can also share it everywhere in, Instagram and Facebook. And
Oh,
you
okay.
just can, yes, you just can
I've
copy
never
the
done
link.
Twitter Spaces, so I don't know how it works. So it'll always be listed underneath the actual.
Yes, it's
Okay.
gonna be there. And also
And
on,
it also will be on your own account, under your own account. If someone follows you, they can always find it under your
That's
account.
great. Thank you so much.
thank you so much, Nazanin Jan. Thank you, Dr. Hatta. And also about the workshops, I am actually doing workshops with him, and we are trying to recruit people who are truly fighting for throwing out the regime. So the recruitment is crucial, because we can't we can't let everybody actually come to those. But
Yes.
I'm gonna share whatever I get from the workshops on my account. So there is the only way that I can share my things. Whoever follows me can actually have access to those. But I will do that. Thank you so much for that.
Anahita, can I add 10 seconds? There is a movie which is called Bringing Down a Dictator. It is in Persian and English, and it is a very good source for the Serbia revolution.
Thank you. If you have it in your tweets, can you pin it up? I don't know the link of that, or the name of something like, or put it on the comment. That would be great.
Okay, I will add later
Okay.
to the comment.
So Piruz, I cannot give you the mic. I don't know why. Can you cancel the request and request again? Thank you so much. And the next.
It's because we don't have any more speaker spots open.
Okay, so Shora, can you please accept the mic? If Shora can hear us.
نه یکی باید بره پایین
Oh,
تا
okay.
بتونیم آدمای جدید بیاریم بالا.
Okay. Let's
You
do
can.
that.
Don't know how to do it.
Okay. Thank you so much. No, you stay here. Okay, I go with.
من نمی‌تونم صدای نازنین رو بشنوم، خیلی ناراحتم.
چیکار کنی؟
یه صدای نازنین جون رو من نمیشنوم، خیلی ناراحتم.
So go out and come back again. I'll make you co-host again.
Yeah, I'll go back
Okay.
and
So
come back.
who was the? I think Omid Beiran hasn't talked yet. So go ahead, and then I'll go with the other hands.
Thank you so much. And I'm glad, Nazanin, you got the speaker, because my question was actually addressing you, and I saw you're within the listeners, so I'm glad you're within the speakers. So regarding the chemical attacks on the schools, I know under the UN Secretary General mechanism, he has the authority to request OPCW to start the investigation. But the tricky part is that I'm sorry. The tricky part is that he requires an official request from any of the states. I mean, it can be any state requesting this investigation. What is the fastest way we can activate the UNSGM and request OPCW to start the investigation into toxin and chemical for Iran? Thanks.
I'm not an expert in this space, but I could definitely link you to people that would be better suited to answer this question, including Hillel Neuer from UN Watch, who knows the mechanisms very well at the UN system. And he's helped me before for other matters. I didn't realize that this was a possibility, that a country, nation state could make just like a formal request, and then that they would carry this forward. But if that's the case, then all of us should be knocking on our local members of parliament or representatives and pressuring for this. But if you contact me later directly, I'll put you in contact with Hillel, and we can take the first steps in that direction.
And Nazanin, I'm project manager and I'm very good at putting tasks to others, you know.
Okay.
So how about you take a lead on that and start this, because everybody knows you and you start this. Maybe, you know, we all help you. I know that you're so busy, but we can all help you. But if you take a lead on that and start the movement, I think that would be great.
I think definitely through an organization that I'm part of called Iranian Justice Collective. That can be something I can bring up to this week's we have weekly meetings. I can bring it up on Sunday and put it in the agenda, and we can make a little task force, and whoever's interested can, you know, be in touch with me or through Iranian Justice Collective, and we can take the steps forward.
That's so amazing. I'll get back to it because it's very important, but I need a microphone. Whoever is not talking, please give me the mic. I have two people requesting the mic and I don't have any mic to give. So,
Thank you. I'll go to listeners.
Thank you
So much. Nazanin, I'll send you a direct message right
Thank
now.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Who was next? I don't know. Tiara, you go next.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak again. Anahita, this was a fantastic space. Thank you so much for organizing it. I just wanted to bring up the point I brought up earlier regarding my work around getting various opposition groups together. I'm basically a one-man operation in this, and it's not exciting work. It's kind of boring, lots of coordination, lots of translation from various languages and things like that. But if anybody's interested, please reach out to me. I continue to kind of chip away at it by myself so far. And also, Anahita, if there is anything I can help you with, please let me know. You're doing fantastic work. So thank you. I'm going to go down to speaker so you get some more mics available.
Thank you so much, Jera. I will do that, and I need a lot of help. Thank you. As I told you, I'm project manager, so I can keep people busy. Thank you for that. Dr. Atta, go for it.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to tell you guys what was my takeaway, the highlight of this space. Last night I skimmed through the Farsi version of the book that Srdja had written, and I really enjoyed it. It was so fluid, very fluent, nicely done. Whoever did the translation, and also for what I had the most bold part for me was the fact that he mentioned that you really need to have an agenda that unites everyone across the board to have a revolution born from a movement. So in his book, he also elaborates that the people who are participating, they need to have a shared image of the future, an outlook of what the future looks like. And that's something that I really wanted to invite Pius to kind of elaborate on that and what we are doing in a group that we have formed, and we have worked on it for 4 months meticulously. It's a project that we have put together, and then that is exactly what we are doing, that creating an outlook of the future Iran, and then making a single agenda that people of Iran can kind of unite around. And Anahita, that now that I heard that you're project manager, you're going to be an asset. You're going to enjoy this project that we have put together. And I would like to have you to take a look at this, and I'm pretty sure we can join forces and make a bigger impact together, and creating an organization out of this mobilization that is happening. And also, Nazanin, I would like to invite you as well, because you have both taken or are taking the workshops that Srdja is holding. So I'm confident that you guys gonna like the idea of what we're doing. A few of people who are here, actually are actively members of our team, so I don't know if I'm allowed to disclose it. But I'm going to ask Piruz because he's one of our founding members too. He will elaborate on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Atto, for that, but I'm taken. I'm just kidding. I have a lot on my plate, and but I'm very actually delighted for what you proposed. Sure, we can work together. And I didn't ask campaign the Shura, do you have time still? If you want to drop, I just you just feel free to drop. Thank you so much for your help. And so we'll go. The other hand was up. Is Urumia.
Thank you again, Anahita. I wanted to ask how much of the solutions that Mr. Popovic proposed for the chemical attacks are doable by us. In summary, he proposed creating manuals, connect to local schools and families, and make the regime accountable for these attacks. And also, I want to suggest that we can have spaces on each chapter of the Blueprint for Revolution, maybe every week. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. I don't know if he has time for do that, but since I'm doing workshops with him, so maybe I can have some delegation from him to go over the book. It was my plan from the very beginning of the revolution to do that, but nobody followed me at that time, and everybody was saying that, oh no, we are past that point, we are past the peaceful whatever movement, but I don't think so. So my first question to Popovic was that, are we past that point? And he was like, you are not even close. So I don't think that we are past that point. We need to do a lot to just make the puzzle complete. So let's work on it. And I don't know if he can do that, but we all can do that, and we all take responsibility. For example, you take the first chapter and you come and explain the first chapter in one space, and whatever question we have, I can take to him, and something like this. But thank you, that was a very good suggestion. And then
Anahita, I'm sorry. I meant we can do spaces by our own in Farsi.
Oh, that would be great. That's what I'm saying. I wanted to do that for a long time, but nobody followed. But if everybody's interested, we can do that. Sure. So, Dr. Banafshajan, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Anahita Jan, for doing this. It was amazing. So appreciate what you did. I wanted to say a couple of things. The first thing is I've been taking notes. There were 11 questions and amazing answers. I'm going to clean this up and share it. I'm not sure how we can share it, but we'll figure it out. And the second thing is the thing that there are a couple of things stood out to me the most. And the first one was that we don't necessarily have a goal that we can hook into. And that was really, really important. And the second thing was how Popovic highlighted what's happening, the chemical attacks on the girls, and suggested that we use this, that possibly this could be our next rallying cry, international rallying cry. Nazanin John, I love what you said. Appreciate all that you're doing. Just wanted to point out that there's a group of us, and there are several of us who are present, of the leadership in the group are present in this space right now. We are focusing, and we've been focusing for the last 6-7 months, specifically progressives in the United States Congress, who have been very, very problematic, and everyone knows why, because they are the most affected by NIAC's messaging. We've been very, when we come face to face with them, they open up. It's like they are waiting for us to appear and talk to them, and they immediately almost come to our side. And the power behind what we're doing is because we are progressives talking to progressives. And they recognize that and they listen and they are moved. So I think we would, I don't want to talk for others present here as part of the group. The group, by the way, is called Progressives for Iranian Democracy, or PFID.
I
We
don't
would
have
like to
problem
make this.
naming me.
Okay, yes, Anahita is one of the co-founders. There's several other people here too. It would be great if we could turn this at Hamzaman, at the same time, turn this into a campaign. And our trip to DC, we are having European guests. I'm not sure if we are allowed to divulge who is coming, but important people from Europe are going to be a part of this. And
Let
we
me say
could.
that is I think that we are allowed to say that Ali Reza Akhundi will be with us on May 15th for going to capital DC, and we are gonna do lobbying a lot. So Banafshe Jan, go ahead.
Yes. Merci. So 15, 16, 17, 18, if you consider yourselves a progressive, I'm going to pitch now at the end of this. If you consider yourself a progressive and you have the wherewithal and the time to come to DC on between the 15th and the 18th, please contact us, either Anahita or myself. And yes, Nazanin John, if we could somehow make this a concerted effort, like a campaign of sorts for that period. I don't know if we could do this fast enough, but that would be great. I'm done. I can go down now.
Do you want me to answer Anahita, or do you want me to answer her directly at another time?
Oops.
No, please go ahead and answer. It's my concern
If
too.
y'all can hear me, I can't hear anybody.
Banafshe Jan, do you hear me?
I'm gonna leave and come back.
Okay. So Nazanin Jan, can you wait for her to come back, because that's a very, very important question. Campaign, I'm gonna get back to you, but Pound, I'm sorry for misspelling you, was here for a long time. Do you want to speak? Pound Jevtik?
I think he went
Okay.
down.
Okay. So Campaign, go ahead.
First of all, I pinned those videos above and as well as on the comments. By the way, we would like also to be part of your team in 15, 16, 17. We have member in Washington, as well as, if necessary, I can travel myself from Canada to from Toronto too. Anyway, we will be in contact.
Thank you so much, Campaign. I appreciate that. Thank you. So Nazanin, you can go ahead, and Banafshe is here right now, so please.
Okay, that's wonderful that you're having this rally, or
But by the
actually,
way, she dropped again. But you can tell me, I can tell
okay,
her.
okay. That's great that you're having those people come on the Hill, and then you're gonna, lobby. Basically, it's true that a lot of the American politicians have had the ear of NIAC and other lobby groups for many, many years. And it's just more recently that our community has really taken focus and, lent their voice to an alternative voice, and those that really represent the Iranian voices. And back when I was advocating 15 years ago, people thought that I was too strong in advocating for a change of regime. I never advocated for anything military wise, but they would equate the word regime change with military action, which was exactly not what I was advocating for. So since Mahsa Amini, we have seen so many people come out and support this movement, and there's so many amazing professionals and people with just strong skills now that have joined the movement, and they're able to push their political representatives. So the fact that you're doing this is incredible. It's starting to change public opinion and those that do represent. What I have noticed working with members of parliament in Canada and other places, around the world throughout the years is that you really have to dumb things down. Like we've been in this milieu for some time, so we assume that everybody knows what's happening in Iran, but people don't. They need to be kind of spoon-fed, step by step. So just when you do go on the Hill, don't assume that they all know everything, and make it very clear that the Iranian lobby groups like NIAC have erroneously been sending messages, and they're very sophisticated, and they're very well versed, so it sounds like they know what they're talking about, and they put up that facade of being pro-peace, anti-war, but we all know where they're coming from. So I can definitely help put some people in touch that can join your day on the Hill for between the 15th and 18th. Now, you said that Alireza Akhundi was going to be joining you there, which I'm a little bit surprised, because I think at the same time he's supposed to be in Geneva for the Geneva summit.
Yes, that's why I said 15th only. He's gonna be with us since 15th, and
okay.
he's gonna go back on 16th to join Geneva.
Okay, because I'm probably going to be moderating that event in Geneva, but yeah.
That is so awesome! I cannot control myself.
If you need qualified people to help you also on the Hill, I definitely have contacts in Washington DC that could join you. And another proposal I was going to make is every month we have a Zoom call with diaspora groups, Iranian diaspora groups, and a lot of them are newer groups that have formed since Mahsa Amini. We're all on the same page in supporting the Women Life Freedom movement. We all want to change things based on actionable projects. So when we get together on these monthly Zoom calls, what we've started to do is to break out into breakout sessions based on different themes. Let's just say policy, or I don't know, a roadmap ahead, or transitional justice, etc. We're just in the beginning phases. We've only had 3 meetings. This would be our 4th one. But if there are groups like yourself, I think you called yourself PFID, if you want to join in one of these, there could be some synergy, just getting to know other like-minded groups and seeing how we and all of you can support one another in your different projects.
That would be amazing. Can I say that I love you? Thank you so much for that.
I love all of you for fighting for Iran and Iranian freedom. Everybody here that's interested in this, like, big applause to all of you.
Thank you. And please, yes, Nazanin, we would love to. Please send the information, the Zoom link and everything, and we can share with the rest of the group. And we definitely want to do that. And what you said, that's all true, because we need to re-educate these people that have been brainwashed with NIAC and MEK. And this cannot be just continue. And we say that, okay, leave them alone, because we need more allies. So Republicans are on side and they are taking lead on our revolution, but we need not only Republicans, we need Democrats as well. So we need to re-educate them, we need to lobby, and that's what our group is basically focusing on. And as I tell you, we had a meeting with Rashida, and she was like, the moment that we said that we are from Iran, it was not our meeting. It was some ceremony, something like this, some gala. And she was like, the moment that we said that we are Iranian, we were diaspora, and we want to talk about the Iran things, and she was like, should I sign the Mahsa Act? Should I sign? I don't know what to do. I need people to tell me what to do. So that's where we have to come out and, do things. So to re-educate them and reverse the brainwashing. And thank you so much for that. We'll be in touch, definitely. Iran Revolution, you're the co-host. Please go ahead.
I just wanted to say goodbye. Motherhood cannot wait. I have to go put my daughter to sleep. Thank you so much, Anahita, for setting up this space and bringing Srdja. It's kudos to you, and thank you everyone for being here. And I hope you all follow Anahita and you keep an eye out for her other spaces as well. And thank you, Nazanin, for all you're doing for Iran. It's really important, and your voice is one of the voices that is heard more than anybody else's. So I really want to thank you for all the efforts that you've put in through the years. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much for that. You really helped me. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we go with Ronak.
Salam Nazanin. I see that you're in the space. Actually, I was hoping to get in touch with you. I have family in Canada. I think I saw that your DMs were not open. Is it possible for you to follow me and I follow you back so that I can get in touch with you, please? Because I would be interested not only from the United States angle, but from the Canadian one as well because of my connections.
Of course, I'm so tech not savvy. I didn't even know that my DMs are not open or closed. I don't even know what that means, but I'll look into it and I can follow you so that you can write to me.
Thank you very much, Sepozguzaram. And I also wish you guys the best of luck with Iranian Canadian Congress. I read and have heard the story through family, and I wish you guys the best of luck with that situation.
Thank you. The Iranian Canadian Congress is our version of NIAC, so we're trying to educate people about them as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Campaign John, for accepting the co-host. Piruz John, go ahead.
درود به همه دوستان. من هیت رفتم و اومدم نمیدونم که این اسپیس انگلیسیه یا فارسیه.
تو فارسی بگو. it's okay.
اوکی یا میخواستم بگم که اولا خیلی ممنون. خیلی اسپیس خوبی بود. خیلی نکات خوبی بود و یه نکاتش مهمترین نکتهش اینه که ببینید قرار نیست که ما 100% حرفای آقای پوپوویچ رو اجرا کنیم. همه جا متفاوته. به قول پراجکت منیجمنت میگه که باید کاستومایزش کنیم یا تیلر میدش کنیم. مثلا یه نکته بسیار خوبی که گفت این بود اونجایی که گفتش نیازی نیست که رهبر کاریزماتیک باشه. این خیلی پوینت مهمیه، چون ما ایرانی‌ها فکر میکنم که با نیچر دنبال یه رهبر کاریزماتیک هستیم. این نشون میده تمام کارهایی که ما داریم میکنیم، همه کاری که ما داریم میکنیم مهمه و یه جایی میتونه جمع بشه یا حتی اگه جمع هم نشه همسو که باشه، همدیگه رو فقط نزنیم خراب نکنیم، خودش میتونه خیلی مهم باشه و جواب بده. و یه نکته مهم دیگه که یادم رفت بگم، ولی بازم مثلا یه تفاوت دیگه تو کتابش هم اگه دقت کنین می‌نویسه وقتی اون تیم مصری اومده بودن پیششون که باش صحبت کنن، میگفتش که ما اصلا نمیتونیم پلیس اون موقع فکر کنم حسنی مبارک بود، حسنی مبارک رو مثلا با پلیس میلوشویچ اگه اشتباه نکنم یکی کنیم، همونطور ما نمیتونیم سپاه رو با اونا یکی کنیم. یعنی خیلی خشونت بالاست. پس چه باید یه سری اینجاها پالیسیایی که میگیم متفاوت باشه. یعنی این همون جایی که باید کاستومایز بشه. یه نکته مهم دیگه که دوستانم اشاره کرد، ببینید سربستان نفت نداره، درست میگه، سپاه نفت داره. شما اگر بیزنس ها رو میشه لیست کرد، مثل اون بلایی که سر میهن آوردن، این خیلی کار مهمیه، اونایی که همکاری میکنن تنبیه بشن. ولی وقتی که تاکید کرد، دقت کنید، گفتش که باید ارگانایزد باشه و پلان داشته باشید. ببین همه تهش میرسن به ارگانایزیشن و پلان. یعنی شما یک پلان داشته باشید، ارگانایزیشن داشته باشید نمیشه، ارگانایزیشن داشته باشید پلان نداشته باشید نمیشه. یعنی شما میتونید به 200 تا نخبه ایرانی رو جمع کنید و پلان نداشته باشید، به جایی نمیرسید. میتونید یه پلان پرفکت بذارید ولی تیم نداشته باشید، بازم به جایی نمیرسید. یعنی اینا که با هم جمع بشه، اون وقت میشه حتی چیز خوبی در آورد. اون وقت حتی میشه اگر هم رهبری مثلا کاریزماتیک احیانا هستن که دارن مثلا میچرخن دور خودشون، کار خاصی نمیکنن، یه جورایی جذب کرد. یعنی اون تیم بیاد اون رهبر رو جذب کنه وقتی شما پلان داشته باشید و برنامه داشته باشید، چون که خیلی مهمه. ببینید وقتی که سپاه انقدر عظیمه، انقدر مثلا منابع نفت و گاز داره و شما نمیتونید به تیکه تیکه مثلا بیاید اینو نخریم اونو نخریم یا اون اعتصاب کنه این اعتصاب نکنه، بعد وقت طول میکشه. همینجوری مردم آردی اسکویز کردن، فشار دادن، اساره مردم کشیده شده، میدونی، یعنی نمیتونیم مقایسه کنیم با حتی زمان شاه مثلا شرکت نفت اعتصاب کرد، چرا؟ چون جیبش پر بود. خب میتونست راحت 6 ماه بشینه خونه و اعتصاب کنه و سیستم رو فلج کنه. الان شرکت نفت که حالا من خودم از نفت و گاز اومدم بیرون، میدونم که اونجا حتی اوضاعشون خرابه. یعنی اگر قرار اعتصابی شکل بگیره خیلی خیلی باید سازمان یافته باشه، یعنی کلا همه چیز باید بسیار سازمان یافته باشه، چون مردم واقعا توی on the verge، یعنی دارن تو لبه حرکت میکنن و میگم که این صحبتش خیلی خیلی امیدبخش بود از نظری که خصوصا اون تیکه برای من که حالا ما که داریم توی یه تیم حالا با دوستان کار میکنیم، حالا امیدوارم به زودی بتونیم یه نتایجی رو اعلام کنیم. این نکتهش بسیار مهم بود. فکر کنم شما این پوینت رو بگیرید، یعنی کمک میکنه که خودمون رو باور کنیم. و چون وقتی آدم خودش میشینه مثلا میگه که تک تک فکر میکنیم، میگه من که نوبادی ام، مثلا من که مهندسم، من که دکترم، من که مثلا فلانم، خب من اصلا من کیم مثلا که بیام وسط مثلا میخوام کاری بکنم. ولی وقتی که نگاه میکنه خود همین آقای پوپوویچ مثلا میگه من یه نوازنده راک بودم، فقط دنبال الکل بودیم، دنبال اینکه با کی دیت کنیم، بعد یهو میفته توی موومنت. میدونی، یعنی اصلا خیلی جالبه. اینا پوینت هایی که باید گرفت، نه که انگشت بذاریم روی دونه دونش، یعنی ببینیم کدوم پوینتاش به درد ما میخوره و اینا رو برداریم. اینا خیلی مهمه که باور کردن خودمون تک به تک. اگه بدونیم که اوکی نیازی نیست که شما مثلا یک اسکاری در انقلاب گرفته باشی، هیچ کس نداره اسکاری در انقلاب نداره، جایزه نوبلی در انقلاب کسی نگرفته. همین آدمای کوچولو کوچولی مثل خودمون هستیم، حالا مثل خودم، حالا شما رو نمیگم، من خودم واقعا یه آدم نوبادی هستم که افتادم تو این زمینه و داریم یه کارایی میکنیم حالا با دوستان. اینا رو بتونیم پوینت ها رو بگیریم جمع کنیم، خیلی کمک میکنه. ببخشید زیاد حرف زدم.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think that I go through the listener and I see still English-speaking people. So if you can keep it in English, that would be great. But it's all fine. Thank you so much. Who was next? Parvin was next.
سلام به همگی. من خواستم 2 تا نکته رو بگم. یکی این که الان ما اکثرا مشکل داریم با همین، مثلا میگیم در مورد نایاک مشکل داریم یا در مورد ارتش سایبری و یا مثلا اطلاعات غلطی که پخش میشه و خب میبینیم که ما خیلی گروه‌هایی هستیم با تعداد مثلا 8 نفر، 10 نفر، 15 نفر تو نقاط مختلف دنیا، هر کدوم یه سری توانایی‌ها داریم و اگر همه این گروه‌ها که حالا اکثرا هم حتی گرایش سیاسی خاصی ندارن، فقط هدفشون در واقع اون آزادی ایران هست، هدفشون رسیدن به حقوق برابر هست و بدون هیچ چشم داشتی دارن کار میکنن. اگر این گروه ها بتونیم همدیگر رو پیدا کنیم، همون پلتفرمی که مثلا نازنین الان ایجاد کرده بتونیم ازش استفاده بکنیم، همدیگر رو بشناسیم، با همدیگه کار بکنیم، این قوی شدن، این در واقع با هم متحد شدن ما باعث میشه که جلوی این اطلاعات غلط منتشر شدن، جلوی این کسایی مثل نایاک گرفته بشه. این روش مقابله با اون در واقع اون ارتش سایبری هستش، در مقابله با اون بازیایی هستش که خیلی میان راه میندازن و بهترین کار اینه که در واقع بتونیم همدیگر رو پیدا کنیم و بهترین استفاده رو میتونیم الان از این پلتفرمی که نازنین جان گفتن در واقع بهترین بهره رو ببریم. یکی این هست. دومین نکته به نظر من چیزی که الان خیلی کم هست توی این انقلاب که الان من میبینم در واقع مطالعه است و اطلاع رسانیه و خیلی ممنون ازتون که این اسپیسی که مثل این راه میندازین، شما، کمپین، جین و این اسپیس هایی که اینجوری راه میفته که با اطلاع رسانی هست، با در واقع نکته‌های کلیدی و چیزای مستند هستش که ازش واقعا یاد میگیریم، چیزایی رو که خیلی کاربردی هست و میشه اصلا نکته برداری کرد و در واقع مثلا IJC هم مثلا ویدیو تهیه میکنه از مثلا مبارزات خشونت پرهیز و اینجور کارا رو باید تا میشه ادامه داد و زیادشون کرد. فکر میکنم مثلا برای انقلاب 58 هم چه میدونم کتاب سفید مثلا پخش میکردن بین مردم، چون میدونستن که این مطالعه چقدر مهمه، این استفاده از تجربیات بقیه چقدر مهمه، نه اینکه عیناً کپیشون کنیم ولی ازشون درس بگیریم و استفاده بکنیم. و الان متاسفانه همه چی شده فقط همین دنیای مجازی، همین یه سری اسپیس هایی که حالا یه سری اسپیس خوب داریم و یه سری اسپیس متاسفانه بد هم داریم، یه سری چیز شده معیار به جای سواد یه سری فالوور شده و خب یه سری هم این وسط اطلاعات نادرست و باز همون اتحاد ما با هم دیگه میتونه کمک بکنه که این آموزش هم بهتر بشه. ممنون ازتون.
مرسی عزیزم. Thank you so much. We have only 10 minutes and I have only 10 minutes. So who wants to speak? Please raise your hand. I don't know whose turn is it. I have Chaco back here, Alan here. I don't know. Who wants to speak? Just raise your hand.
Parveen already raised her hand. Can we hear Parveen?
Parveen, the one was talking.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
okay.
Okay, sorry.
It's Alan.
One of the very important note, sorry, regarding the Sergio's note, was regarding that our success so far is not based on having repeatedly protests on the streets, but rather disperse and decenter protests like these that are right now happening over in Iran. Already women are not wearing hijab, and it is almost very common in big cities. So he was suggesting you can somehow learn from this lesson and repeat it some other ways, bringing symbols, bringing whatsoever, but rather than having focus on one place, have it everywhere and do it every day.
Thank you, Camping. That was a very, very important point. And okay, I let people talk, and then I forgot what I wanted to say. Alan, go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much. First of all, I agree with Piroz about the need for planning on an organization. Just want to add that that planning and organization must be agile because in Iran, circumstances are changing in real time and quickly. So we cannot have a set plan for the future. But to me, the problem is actually before that. The issue is actually a lack of desire for planning an organization. So yeah, we understand the need for planning an organization, but who's going to do that? That desire is not there in our leadership, unfortunately. That's my observation so far. And many of us, not only leadership, just waiting for a magic that happened inside Iran to have the streets back in control. But that's a passive mindset that we should avoid. That's not going to help us. We need to proactively just have a plan and do something to just make that happen, not just waiting for other people to do something and then react. That was my point.
Thank you, Alan. We talked about this, that he was saying that there is not as necessarily no need for charismatic leader or, whomever we are thinking that they are the leaders. He was simply talking about leaders inside, me, just me talking to my sister and brother or cousins and take the lead on one region. Or we have here people who are not as, who are not in the coalition like Nazanin, but she's doing a lot and she has a lot of people who knows her. So why just leaning toward the coalition and wait for them? We can all help Nazanin or Nazanin wise people like Nazanin, or very very small leaders, like everybody that's doing something regionally, based on religion and not centralized. So his point was so valid, because when we are waiting for somebody to take the lead, nothing is gonna happen. So who's gonna talk? I don't have a hand raised.
Can
Yes,
I?
go ahead.
Thank you. I want to say thank you so much for organizing this. Thank you very much, Nazanin John. I truly appreciate it. And I missed the beginning of the talk, and I'm going to listen to the recording. Something that I wanted to point out was that we have Iranian diaspora, for example, in California. They are major voters. They can push very well the Democratic or Republican Congress people on the East Coast as well. I live in the Midwest, and so we are not one of the most populated minorities, let's say, over here. And I think probably there would be a need for those in the US or some parts of Canada and also Europe to come together if our population is not that much. So, for example, maybe Iranians in Michigan or Iranians in Wisconsin are not that many or not that numerous, but if we come together and not necessarily create an NGO or something out of it, but try to send emails and letters to our Congress people and present ourselves as Iranians in the Midwest, maybe that would be helpful. Another thing that I wanted to first say that I appreciate Nazanin's efforts is that there are a lot of ideas that we have, but we do not have the kind of connections. For example, the fantastic work they did for getting the Iran out of the United Nations Commission for Women, that was phenomenal. And the problem that regular, like an individual civil person cannot do is that those requests should come from one of the member states, meaning that, for example, the United States has to put a request. So when we think, for example, of the chemical attacks that are happening in the schools right now, we can regard it as one of the things that OPCW, which is the Organization to Prevent Chemical Warfare, maybe they can get involved the same way that they got involved in Syria, and actually they proved that Bashar Assad used different chemical gases on Syrian people. And Iran is actually a member of that. So if OPCW decides to come and investigate Iran, Iran cannot say no. But in a way, we need some people with expertise in law or legislation or just how to navigate and tackle these issues so that, so that we feel empowered, so that we feel that we have the connections needed to maybe initiate something like that. For example, if we need to generate a petition with 500,000 signatures for another member state of OPCW to request an investigation on what is happening in schools in Iran, then okay, then we can do the signature finding. So what I am thinking is, I hope Nazanin and other people who are active and spending a lot of time and effort, and what they're doing is super appreciated. If we can use their efforts and create spaces so that we get connected to people with the expertise in these legal or legislative areas, maybe it would be helpful and we would be faster at tackling the issues in Iran. I personally expected the coalition to come up with ideas, but it's fine. We don't know what they are occupied with. I think we can come together and use the resources. And of course, there are a lot of people with expertise that want to help, but it's just that we have to get connected. And I hope that we can use the spaces like this that you have created and the experts that you have brought, and also the efforts of other celebrities and famous people we have to start looking at this, I hope. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jakovac John. We have only 1 minute. Ronak Jan, go ahead and we'll end the space.
Hi. So I'm not gonna give personal information about exactly where I'm from or whatever, but I do have some Midwest connections. I'm gonna tell you what my experience was. Because Dr. Larijani, not doctor, whoever he was, Mr. Larijani's daughter lives in one of those Great Lakes states. When I tried to get a bunch of people to call, for example, for MASLA Act, they literally, the first words my family member said, for example, was, okay, well, I know that this person supports this member of the coalition, so I trust them more. I need people who've been fighting the regime from, for a long time, let's say. Because this other government official was in the Khatami administration. And so there was a distrust. There are some former reformist officials who live in the Midwest, and that's contributing to why they won't just give you personal information. So if you talk to people, you're going to have to ask them sometimes to have backup phone numbers and backup emails because they don't know if someone is an agent or not.
Okay, thank you so much. Nazanin is back, but we are ending the space. Nazanin Jan, I'll be in contact with you. Thank you so much. دوستان از همتون ممنونم برای اینکه منو حمایت کردید، ما رو حمایت کردید، اسپیس رو حمایت کردید. شورای عزیز ممنون ازت کمپین، متشکرم از اینکه به ما کمک کردید و نمیتونستیم این کار رو انجام بدیم. We couldn't have done it without you. So thank you for your time and being very active and proactive actually here. Thank you so much. Thank you.